Welcome to our quick tip video series. In this video, we're going to be examining the difference between active and passive voice in scientific and academic writing. In scientific and academic writing, there are two common voices that we can grammatically apply: the active voice and the passive voice. Voice is used to show us the relationship between nouns or actors and their actions. Voice helps us to understand who does what, or what is done by some actor in a sentence. Here's a quick example. In the active voice, we could say the cyclist rode his bicycle. In the passive voice, the bicycle was parked by the cyclist. Controlling your use of voice in academic and scientific writing is a great way to add style and direct your reader's focus. Your choice between active and passive voice can also improve the clarity and concision of your writing. To learn more about how voice achieves these goals, we first need a brief grammar lesson. Active voice constructs sentences where the subject noun performs an action, or a verb, on an object noun. For example, this research documents the connection between proximity to pollution sources and increased instances of respiratory illnesses. This research is the subject noun, and the following verb, documents, is the action. By contrast, sentences constructed using the passive voice places the subject noun after the action and the object noun. Let's reconstruct the same sentence in the passive voice to demonstrate the difference. The connection between proximity to pollution sources and increased instances of respiratory illness is documented by the research. Passive voice follows an object noun, verb, subject noun order. When we compare these two sentences, we can see that the active voice is much shorter. English grammar requires additional verbs and prepositions for passive voice sentences, in this case the verb to be in the form of is and the preposition by. In addition, passive voice abstracts relationships between the subject noun, verb, and object noun, making the subject noun and action harder for your reader to see. Much academic writing overuses the passive voice, which explains why some texts can be more difficult to understand. An easy way to identify passive voice in writing is to look for phrases using prepositions by. By indicates that the outcome of an action is placed before the subject noun or the actor who did the action. You can also look for excessive use of the verb to be in its various forms: is, are, was, were. The verb to be is often a helping verb that's needed to construct a grammatically correct passive voice sentence. Try to identify the subject noun. If the subject noun is missing, or an anonymous general term like the research, the evidence, experts, etc. is used, the sentence is likely passive. There are good reasons to use both the active and passive voice, so how can we effectively use voice to create quality writing? That comes down to your intention and style. It's easy to convert active sentences to passive sentences and vice versa, and knowing when you may want to use the active or passive voice is helpful for your reader to help them hold focus and understand what you're trying to say. You should use the active voice in sentences when you want to convey an idea clearly, directly, and with a strong tone. When you want to be concise. When you want to maintain focus on the subject noun or the actor of your sentence, or when you want to demonstrate cause-effect relationships. For these reasons, we advise that you use the active voice as much as possible in your writing. Of course, the passive voice is also acceptable in academic and scientific writing, but we advise you to use the passive voice when you want to demonstrate the effect of a cause. This emphasizes or focuses your reader's attention on the outcome of an action instead of on the actor within the sentence. Or when you want to anonymize the actor or when the actor is unknown to you. The passive voice is also acceptable to maintain objectivity or create a neutral but authoritative tone. Also, active-passive shifting can create a sense of flow in your paragraphs. Shifting focus across sentences creates flow within your writing. Changing focus or creating flow can be seen in this example where we begin with active voice and move to passive voice across sentences. The data shows clear correlation between pollution rates and increased instances of illness. This correlation is supported by other research studies conducted across Europe. While we advise to use the active voice as often as possible for clear and concise writing, the passive voice also serves specific purposes that are beneficial to interesting and purposeful writing. We hope this video offered insight into the ways that you can effectively use active and passive voice to your advantage. To learn more about this topic, You can see our video on character action, or visit the links in the video description for additional examples.